Building architecture at a microscale requires a specific kind of discipline. Our objective today is to construct a structured, multi-story miniature mansion from the ground up, complete with varied exterior textures and warm interior lights pouring into the environment. To get there, we will rely on genuine construction materials, scaled down for the studio, working with kiln-fired miniature bricks, actual wire rebar, quickset mortar, wooden roof trusses, and precision tweezers to carefully handle the placement. The core philosophy of this build is patience over speed. Because we are using real mortar and bearing real weight, skipping curing times or rushing the alignment will cause structural failure later on. Before we touch a single brick, we need to prepare our workspace. We must start with a perfectly flat, protected diorama base, which will serve as the rigid foundation for everything we do moving forward. By strictly adhering to a sequenced construction plan, we ensure these raw craft materials actually interlock, resulting in a structurally sound, highly realistic architectural model. Let's start digging. We begin at the lowest level. We have our bare diorama base cleared and ready to serve as the excavation site for our foundation. Using a precise carving tool, we dig a shallow trench along the perimeter of the house. We then embed lengths of wire rebar directly into the trench, which will provide the necessary tensile strength once we pour our quickset concrete. This animated cross-section illustrates exactly why we have to wait 24 hours for the concrete to set. An uneven cure in a foundation trench creates a slight slope, causing the heavy vertical walls above it to slowly lean and destabilize over time. Once the concrete is entirely solid, we place our initial guiding row of bricks. We use our tweezers to press them in until they sit perfectly flush with the concrete line, establishing a level baseline. From there, we begin the continuous layering process. We add a thin line of mortar, place a row of bricks, and repeat, slowly building up the lower walls of the mansion. This overlay shows why we stagger bricks in an alternating bond. Shifting rows distributes weight diagonally, locking the wall together. At the door frames, this principle carries into structural arches. The load paths curve around the archway, pushing weight safely down into the side columns. Cautionary: as you layer, keep your mortar thin. Applying excess mortar causes it to squeeze out of the joints, creating messy overflows that dry onto the flat faces of the bricks and ruin the scale effect. A perfectly cured foundation and disciplined, cleanly mortared brickwork guarantee that the lower level is entirely stable. With those prerequisites met, the walls can confidently support the vertical height of the rest of the mansion. Now we transition to the upper level. With the brickwork finished, we have a rigid skeleton and an open top where the roof framing will soon sit. We apply wood glue to the upper edge of the brick walls and carefully drop our pre-cut wooden trusses into place, ensuring they sit flush against the masonry. This geometric overlay measures the truss pitch, the specific angles of the wooden frame. We have to maintain an exact parallel alignment across every single truss, or else the flat roof panels we install next will warp and leave visible gaps. Once the glue on the framing dries, we lay down the flat roof panels to enclose the top. Then, working from the bottom edge upward, we glue on the individual overlapping roof tiles to properly seal out the elements. To add architectural variety, we take a miniature trowel and apply a thin coat of plaster over designated sections of the exterior brick. This creates a smooth, varied texture on the facade. Next, we sequentially insert our prefabricated elements. We slide the window frames into the remaining wall gaps, hang the main doors, and attach the exterior balconies. By successfully framing the roof and sealing the exterior gaps with plaster and fixtures, the model transitions from an exposed skeletal frame into a complete enclosed architectural structure. Our model is now fully assembled, sitting clean and raw in the workspace. To make it look like a real building that has existed in the elements, we begin the detailing phase. We start by painting a base coat over the freshly plastered walls and the tiled roof sections to establish the overall color palette of the estate. Next, we use a weathering wash technique. We take heavily thinned, dark acrylic paint and brush it generously over the raw bricks and the chimney structures. This side-by-side comparison shows the immediate effect. The dark, watery paint naturally pools into the crevices and mortar lines, creating realistic grime, shadow, and depth that a flat color coat simply can't achieve. Moving down to the grounds, We cut adhesive grass matting to size and press it firmly around the perimeter of the concrete foundation. Using our tweezers one last time, we place individual miniature hedges along the edge of the grass to neatly frame the property line and complete the landscaping. The final mechanical step is to run our LED light kit wiring up through the pre-planned hole in the center of the diorama base, securing the bulbs inside the hollow structure. The dark atmospheric weathering on the bricks and the organic texture of the landscaping break up the clean, artificial lines of the plastic and wood, successfully grounding the model into a realistic physical space. With the build complete, we move the entire diorama into a darkened room. This allows us to test the opacity of our sealed walls and prepare for the final light check. A moment of wonder. When we click on the power, the interior lights ignite, casting a warm glow outward through the glass windows and across our manicured hedges. The light stays perfectly contained behind the dense brickwork and plastered walls, confirming our mortar joints are tight and that our masonry techniques were executed successfully. The techniques used here, the concrete trenching, the alternating bond, the truss alignment, and the weathering washes, are completely modular. You can adapt these exact foundational steps to build modern cabins, large industrial warehouses, or medieval castles. Mastering the microscale requires the same rigorous discipline as macroscale engineering. Follow the sequence, let the mortar cure, and share your own finished builds below.